Hello, 5th grade. Welcome back to Read Aloud. We are in chapter 16 of Tale of Despereaux, which is not quite halfway. We're, first third. We're getting there. So we're going to read about Chiaroscuro. Sorry, I forgot to upload anything over spring break, but then again, it was spring break. So did I have to upload something? I'm not sure. Anyways, let's get into this. We're going to be reading about Chiaroscuro. This one's going to be a bit longer, so might have to pause it or something. I'm going to do the entire second book, which is this much. Which is, kind of similar to about how much I was doing in the first one. But anyways, this is going to be about Chiaroscuro, a rat. Chapter 16, Blinded by the Light. As our story continues, reader, we must go backward in time to the birth of a rat named Chiaroscuro, and called Roscuro, a rat born into the filth and darkness of the dungeon. Several years before, the mouse Despereaux was born upstairs, in the light. Reader, do you know the definition of the word Chiaroscuro? Well, if you look in your dictionary, you will find that it means the arrangement of light and dark, darkness and light together. Rats do not care for light. Roscuro's parents were having a bit of fun when they named their son. Rats have a sense of humor. Rats, in fact, think that life is very funny. And they are right, reader. They are right. In the case of Chiaroscuro, however, the joke had a hint of prophecy to it, for it happened that when Roscuro was a very young rat, he came upon a great length of rope on the dungeon floor. "And what have we here?" said Roscuro. Being a rat, he immediately began to nibble at the rope. "Stop that!" boomed a voice, and a great hand came out of the darkness and picked up the rat by his tail and held him suspended upside down. "Were you nibbling at Gregory's rope rat?" "Who wants to know?" said Roscuro, for even upside down, he was still a rat, which basically means they're just not going to answer a question. "You're a smart alecky rat, you smart alecky rat, nibbling on Gregory's rope. Gregory will teach you to mess with his rope." And keeping Roscuro upside down, Gregory lit a match with the nail of his thumb, and then held the brilliant flame right in Roscuro's face. "Ah," said Roscuro. He pulled his head back away from the light, but alas, he did not close his eyes, and the flame exploded around him and danced inside him. "Has no one told you the rules?" said Gregory. "What rules?" "Gregory's rope rat is off limits." "So? Apologize for chewing on Gregory's rope." "I will not," said Roscuro. "Apologize?" "No." "Filthy rat," said Gregory. "You black-souled thing. Gregory has had it with you rats," and he held the match closer to Roscuro's face, and a terrible smell of burnt whiskers rose up around the jailer and the rat. And then the match went out, and Gregory released Roscuro's tail and flung him back into the darkness. "Do not ever touch Gregory's rope again, or you'll be sorry." Roscuro sat on the dungeon floor. The whiskers on the left side of his face were gone. His heart was beating hard, and though the light from the match had disappeared, it danced still before the rat's eyes, even when he closed them. "Light," he said aloud. Then he whispered the word again. "Light." From that moment forward, Roscuro showed an abnormal, inordinate interest in the illumination of all sorts. He was always, in the darkness of the dungeon, on the lookout for light, the smallest glimmer, the tiniest shimmer. His rat soul longed inexplicably for it. He began to think that light was the only thing that gave life meaning, and he despaired that there was so little of it to be had. He finally voiced his sentiment to his friend, a very old, one-eared rat named Botticelli Rimorso. Rimorso, like remorse. "I think," said Roscuro, "that the meaning of life is light." "Light?" said Botticelli. You kill me. Light has nothing to do with it." "What does it mean, then?" asked Roscuro. "The meaning of life," said Botticelli, "is suffering, especially the suffering of others. Prisoners, for instance, reducing a prisoner to weeping and wailing and begging. Sorry, he's somehow Irish, even though his name's Italian. I don't know what to do. "It is a delightful way to invest your existence with meaning." As he spoke, Botticelli swung from the one extraordinary long nail of his right front paw a heart-shaped locket. He had taken the locket from a prisoner and hung it on a thin braided rope. Whenever Botticelli spoke, the locket moved. Back and forth it swung. "Are you listening?" Botticelli asked to Roscuro. "I'm listening." "Good," said Botticelli. "Do as I say, and life will be full of meaning. This is how to torture a prisoner. First, you must convince him that you are a friend. Listen to him. Encourage him to confess his sins. And when the time is right, talk to him. Tell him what he wants to hear. Tell him, for instance, that you will forgive him. This is a wonderful joke to play on a prisoner, to promise forgiveness." Why? Asked Roscoe. His eyes went back and forth, following the locket. You know, like hypnotism. Because, said Botticelli, you will promise to do it, but you will not grant it. You gain his trust, and then you deny him. You refuse to offer the very thing he wants. Forgiveness, freedom, friendship, whatever it is that his heart most desires, you withhold. At this point in his lecture, Botticelli laughed so hard that he had to sit down and catch his breath. The locket swayed slowly back and forth and then stopped altogether. Ah, said Botticelli. You gain his trust, you refuse him, and you become what he knew you were all along. What you knew you were all along. Not a friend, not a confessor, not a forgiver, but a rat. Botticelli wiped his eyes and shook his head and sighed a sigh of contentment. He set the locket in motion again. At that point, it is most effective to run back and forth over the prisoner's feet, inducing physical terror along with the emotional sort. Oh, he said, it is such a lovely game, and it is just absolutely chock full of meaning. I would like very much to torture a prisoner, said Roscoe. I would like to make someone suffer. Aw, Roscoe, no. Your time will come, said Botticelli. Currently all the prisoners are spoken for, but another prisoner will arrive sooner or later. How do I know this to be true? Because, Roscoe, thankfully, there is evil in the world, and the presence of evil guarantees the existence of prisoners. So, soon there will be a prisoner for me? Yes, said Botticelli remorso. Yes. I'm looking forward to it. Ah, of course you're looking forward to it. You're looking forward to it because you're a rat. A real rat. Yes, said Roscoe. I am a real rat. Concerned not at all with the light, said Botticelli. Concerned not at all with the light, repeated Roscoe. Botticelli laughed again and shook his head. The locket, suspended from the long nail on his paw, swung back and forth, back and forth. You, my young friend, are a rat. Exactly. Yes. Evil. Prisoners. Rats. Suffering. It all fits together so neatly, so sweetly. Oh, it's a lovely world. A lovely, dark world. End of chapter 16. I apologize. I think Botticelli's voice changed basically with every page, but, you know, it's hard to keep track when there's a lot of characters. I apologize. We actually might not do all of this, because that was 7 minutes just for the first chapter, so we might not actually do the whole of book 2 in this reading. Keep it from being an incredibly long video. Alright, chapter 17, Small Comforts. Not long after this conversation between Botticelli and Roscoe, a prisoner did arrive. The dungeon door slammed, and 2 rats watched a man being led by a king's soldier down the stairs into the dungeon. Excellent, whispered Botticelli. This one's yours. Roscoe looked at the man closely. I will make him suffer, he said. No, Roscoe. But as he stared up at the man, the door to the dungeon was suddenly flung open, and a thick and brilliant shaft of afternoon light cut into the dark of the dungeon. Ah, said Botticelli. He covered his eyes with one paw. Roscoe, however, stared directly into the light. Reader, this is important. The rat called Sheer Roscoe did not look away. He let the light from the upstairs world enter him and fill him. He gasped aloud with the wonder of it. Give him his small comforts, shouted a voice at the top of the stairs, and a red cloth was thrown into the light. The cloth hung suspended for a moment, a bright red and glowing cloth, and then the door slammed shut again, and the light disappeared, and the cloth fell to the floor. It was Gregory the jailer who bent to pick it up. Go on, said the old man as he held out the cloth to the prisoner. Take it. You'll need every last bit of warmth down here. And so the prisoner took the cloth and draped it around his shoulders as if it were a cloak. And the soldier of the king said, Right then, Gregory, he's all yours. And the soldier turned and went back up the steps and opened the door to the outside world, and some small light leaked in before he closed the door behind him. Did you see that? Roscoe said to Botticelli. Hideously ugly, said Botticelli. Ridiculous. What can they possibly mean by letting all that light in at once? Don't they know this is a dungeon? It was beautiful, said Roscoe. No, said Botticelli. No. He looked at Roscoe intently. Not beautiful. No. I must see more light. I must see all of it, said Roscoe. I must go upstairs. Botticelli sighed. Who cares about the light? Your obsession with it is tiresome. Listen, we are rats. Rats. We do not like light. We are about darkness. We are about suffering. But, said Roscoe, upstairs. No buts, said Botticelli. No buts. None. Rats do not go upstairs. Upstairs is the domain of mice. He took the locket from around his neck. What, he said, swinging it back and forth, is this rope made of? Whiskers. The whiskers of whom? Of mice. Exactly. And who lives upstairs? Mice. Exactly. Mice. Botticelli turned his head and spat on the floor. Great. Mice are nothing but little packages of blood and bones afraid of everything. They're despicable, laughable, the opposite of everything we strive to be. Do you want to live in their world? Roscoe looked up, past Botticelli, to the delicious sliver of light that shone out from underneath the door. He said nothing. Listen, said Botticelli. This is what you should do. Go and torture the prisoner. Go and take the red cloth from him. The cloth will satisfy your cravings for something from that world. But do not go up into the light. You will regret it. As he spoke, the locket swung back and forth, back and forth. You do not belong in that world. You're a rat. A rat. Say it with me. A rat, said Roscoe. Ah, but you're cheating. You must say, I am a rat, said Botticelli, smiling his slow smile at Roscoe. A slow smile. I don't know. I'm a rat, said Roscoe. Again, said Botticelli, swinging his locket. I'm a rat. Exactly, said Botticelli. A rat is a rat is a rat. End of story. World without end. Amen. Oh, that's fine. Yes, said Roscoe. Amen. I'm a rat. He closed his eyes. He saw again the red cloth spinning against the backdrop of gold, and he told himself, reader, that it was the cloth that he desired, and not the light. Yeah, we'll keep going. Chapter 18. Confessions. Roscoe went, as Botticelli told him he must, to torment the new prisoner and take the red cloth from him. Sorry, one sec. Oh, this is my prancing pony mug. I painted it at a place. I had very little time, so it was very quick and not super nice or detailed, but it's fun to drink tea out of. Okay. Okay, he's going to take the red cloth from him. Okay. The man was sitting with his legs stretched out straight in front of him, chained to the floor. The red cloth was still draped over his shoulders. Roscoe squeezed through the bars and crept slowly over the damp, weeping stones of the cell floor. When he was close to the man, he said, Ah, welcome, welcome. We are delighted to have you. The man lit a match and looked at Roscoe. Roscoe stared longingly at the light. Go on, said the prisoner, and he waved a hand in the direction of Roscoe, and the match went out. You're nothing but a rat. He's going to be Scottish. Sorry, we'll make him Scottish. I am, said Roscoe. Exactly that, a rat. Allow me to congratulate you on your very astute powers of observation. What do you want, rat? What do I want? Nothing. Nothing for my sake. But, well, nothing for my sake, that is. I have come for you. I have come to keep you company here in the dark. And he crawled closer to the man. I don't need the company of a rat. What about the solace of a sympathetic ear that I can provide? Do you need that? Huh? Would you like to confess your sins? To a rat? You're kidding, you are. Come now, said Roscoe. Close your eyes. Pretend that I'm not a rat. Pretend that I'm nothing but a voice in the darkness. A voice that cares. The prisoner closed his eyes. All right, he said. I'll tell you. But I'm telling you because there ain't no point in not telling you. No point in keeping secrets from a dirty little rat. I ain't in such a desperate way that I need to lie to a rat. The man cleared his throat. I'm here for stealing 6 cows, 2 jerseys, and 4 Guernseys. Cow theft, that's my crime. He opened his eyes and stared into the darkness. He laughed. He closed his eyes again. But there's something else I done many years ago, another crime, and they don't even know of it. Go on, said Roscoe softly. He crept closer, and he allowed one paw to touch the magical red cloth. I traded my girl, my own daughter, for this red tablecloth, and for a hen, and for a handful of cigarettes. Apparently they have cigarettes in this world. Tsk, said Roscoe. He was not alarmed to hear of such a hideous thing. His parents, after all, had not much cared for him, and certainly, if there was any profit in it, they would have sold him. And then, too, Botticelli were more so. One lazy Sunday afternoon had recited from memory all the confessions that he'd heard from prisoners. What humans were capable of came of no surprise to Roscoe. And then, said the man. And then, encouraged Roscoe. And then the worst thing I done of all. I walked away from her, and she was crying and calling out for me, and I didn't even look back. I didn't. Oh, Lord, I kept walking. The prisoner cleared his throat, and he sniffed. Ah, said Roscoe. Yes, I see. By now he was standing so that all 4 of his paws were touching the red cloth. Do you find comfort in this cloth you traded your child for? It's warm, said the man. Was it worth your child? I like the colour of it. Does the cloth remind you of what you've done wrong? It does, said the prisoner, and he sniffed. It does. Allow me to ease your burden, said Roscoe. He stood up on his hind legs and bowed at the waist. I will take this reminder of your sin from you, he said. The rat took hold of the tablecloth in his strong teeth and pulled it off the shoulders of the man. Hey, see here, I want that back. But Roscoe, reader, was quick. He pulled the tablecloth through the bars of the cell and whoosh, like a magic trick in reverse. "Hey!" shouted the prisoner. "Bring that back! It's all I got!" "Yes," said Roscoe, "and that is exactly why I must have it." "You dirty rat!" shouted the prisoner. "Yes," said Roscoe. "That is right. That is most accurate." And he left the man and dragged the tablecloth back to his nest and considered it. What a disappointment it was. Looking at it, Roscoe knew that Botticelli, he was wrong. What Roscoe wanted, what he needed, was not the cloth, but the light that had shone behind it. He wanted to be filled and flooded and blinded again with light. And for that, reader, the rat knew he must go upstairs. Okay, we'll do one more chapter, because the chapter is short. Chapter 19, Light, Light Everywhere. Imagine, if you will, having spent the whole of your life in a dungeon. Imagine that late one spring day you step out of the dark and into a world of bright windows and polished floors, winking copper pots, shining suits of armor, and tapestries sewn with gold. Imagine. And while you're imagining things, imagine this too. Imagine that at the same time the rat steps from the dungeon and into the castle, a mouse is being born upstairs. A mouse reader who is destined to meet the light-bedazzled rat. But that meeting will occur much later. And for now, the rat is nothing but happy, delighted, and amazed to find himself standing in so much light. "Aye," said Roscoe, spinning dizzily from one bright thing to the next. "I will never leave. No, never. I will never go back to the dungeon. Why should I? I will never torture another prisoner. It's here that I belong." The rat waltzed happily from room to room until he found himself at the door to the banquet hall. He looked inside and saw gathered there King Philip, Queen Rosemary, and the Princess P, 20 noble people, a juggler, 4 minstrels, and all the king's men. This party, reader, was a sight for the rat's eyes. Roscoe had never seen happy people. He had known only the miserable ones. Gregory the jailer and those who were consigned to his domain did not laugh or smile or clink glasses with the person sitting next to them. Roscoe was enchanted. Everything glittered, everything. The gold spoons on the table and the jingle bells on the juggler's cap, the strings on the minstrels' guitars, and the crowns on the king and queen's heads. And the little princess, how lovely she was, how much like light itself. Her gown was covered in sequins that winked and glimmered at the rat. And when she laughed, and she laughed often, everything around her seemed to glow brighter. "Oh, really," said Roscoe, "this is too extraordinary. This is too wonderful. I must tell Botticelli that he was wrong. Suffering is not the answer. Light is the answer." And he made his way into the banquet hall. He lifted his tail off the ground and held it at an angle and marched in time to the music the minstrels were playing on their guitars. The rat, reader, invited himself to the party. And that, I think, is where we shall stop. Right before something intense happens. Why not? Okay, so we're stopping at chapter 20. We read through 19, and we will continue next time with more about Chiaroscuro. I hope you are having a wonderful day, and I miss you all very much.